Okay, welcome to the pit, and here we are. Let's get some nesting set up real quick, and by nesting, the basic configuration of the cockpit. Before we even start, we'll actually go through the entirety of the full startup, if I can remember it, from when I was an F-16 crew chief. So what we're doing right now is configuring the avionics, or what we can. For our engine start, we'll leave this panel completely dark, instrument panel, and then we'll set the air source to norm. Okay, so that's pretty much the cold cockpit startup or initiation here. So what we'll do is we'll apply battery power and then right click JFIS start 2. As you can hear, the JFIS is running, so it takes approximately 60 seconds to get up to 20%, which is in the RPM gauge here. And once we get to the RPM gauge at 20%, we'll move the throttle up and then hit the detent for the throttle to initiate the over the horn, so to speak, getting the throttle in position. In normal full start procedures, we would have gone through and hit this, but it's a sim. We know it works, so I'm not expecting it not to work. So we're at 20% right now. Move the throttle a little bit, make sure that your throttle is working before you do this. And as you can see, the RPM should be climbing. And it should be climbing. There we go. Guess I didn't click the first time. Once we get engine electrical power through the alternator, or the generator, as we call it on the F-16, you're going to see that we're going to transition from battery power, and all the instrument lights should come on. Okay, go ahead and close the canopy. Start up by bringing up some of the avionics here. Altimeter, DED data, set it to the baro, bring the INS knob to norm, start firing up our avionics here. Awesome. Master caution reset, no dummy lights here. We'll simulate that we have a good crew chief out on the outside of the jet here, and then he's given us all clear for the sec. So we'll go to secondary airspeed, closes not all, verify that, 0%, bring the throttle up, make sure we got good RPM, 80%, looks good. Alright, bring the throttle back down, and sec nozzle should be at 100%. From here we'll initiate a flickus bit, and then we're looking for the faults here, if there are any. INS is spinning up, which is good, and we'll go and turn on the HUD here in a second. This control panel here is for avionics for the RAR gear. Parking brake should have been on too, error on my part, but we have the chocks in, so that's fine. HUD is this knob right here, coming up. In reality, before the bit check, we would have done an EPU bleed air check, which is right here. But no need for it in this sim. Okay, it looks like the bit is complete. We'll go ahead and hit the acknowledge for the fault acknowledge for the pilot display here. Let's go and load up the DTE, or the data cartridge. Looks good. And the way that we know we have our data cartridge set is that we can set tower. 15 should be 2923. Is the radio even on? No, because I'm an idiot. COM 2. Threat. This should have been done on the pre-startup procedures. Alright, so radio is on. We'll set uniform 1-5, enter. And that should be 292.
Python 1-1, Kunshan Tower. You are cleared for takeoff. Runway 18.
Okay, let's request a QFE.
Python 1-1, copy.
Python 1, Kunshan approach 3058.
3058 matches with my local altimeter setting set. Once we get rid of the chocks, which we'll do now, we'll switch frequencies.
Python 1-1, copy.
We got the parking brake on, so we'll switch to uniform 17. In a real airfield or in a sim with other people, we would stay on tower frequency to deconflict, but that is not an issue. You're going to notice here that we have the seat not armed warning. We can go and arm it here. I'm not actually in the plane, right, so I don't really care. And the stores config is because we're set category 1, and that is set specifically because if we have to jettison, I'd want full control authority over the jet. In real plane, you'd know what 6 Gs feels like, so you wouldn't actually over-G the plane, or you could, but most people don't. Alright, INS is fully aligned, 3.0 to 3.0. We hit the nav knob. How we know that's good is that we have the map data on the HSD populated completely, and we have our flight plan that we discussed earlier, and then we can go ahead and go to CRM mode and override for the fire control radar. Moving down further, for the takeoff, I'll go to radar altimeter, and then you'll see me switch to baro once we take off. Alright, from here I'll go and check the HMCS, helmet mounted queuing system. DMS down long initiates it. Looks good. Turn that off. And we're pretty much ready to taxi now. By now, in the real F-16, we would have done a full flight control check, speed brakes and all that good stuff, a brake check, and then we'd be on our way. But we don't have a real crew chief or a simulated one, so we'll just go and hit this. Turn the nose wheel steering on by shift right backslash, and then we're off to taxi. We're at Kunsan, so we have two options. We have a north or south departure. We'll go and take the south departure to the north. We'll depart from the south to the north, and then check right for our initial steer point, which is steer 2. Alright, I usually leave the INS page up just to make sure that all of the symbology and the coefficients on the DED, which is this panel here, match up correctly. And once we're done with that, we'll go and hit return, close out the ICP. Before we take off, I'll make some slight adjustments to the ICP here, the control panel, interface control panel, and we'll set our bingo, our radar, or I'm sorry, our altitude limits, and we'll take a look at our cruise tab for the carrot speeds and all that good stuff. Turn up some volume here so I can hear the hell I'm doing. The real Viper, you'd leave the radar off while you're taxiing, mainly because you don't want to irradiate all the ground crew. But for this example, we'll go and do our own before takeoff checklist at the EOR, which is end of runway inspection, and we'll verify all of our stuff is set up before we go off. By now, our targeting pod should be good to go. We're in nav mode, set that up. Air to ground mode, we'll set that up. And back to nav. Good brake check. We're just doing end of runway departure, or we'll hold here, and then we'll go over some stuff with the interface control panel. Okay, we're holding short. Parking brake is set, and we'll go through the list here. So we're going to set our bingo to, let's call it 3,000 pounds. That's our divert fuel that I actually need to no shit go home. Or to an alternate airfield. Set a mental bingo at 6,000 pounds. List. Back out to the main page, hit allow. Set our allowed, we'll set to, we're not going to exceed 15,000 feet. That'll be our Q. Okay. Bingo set, need to check the cruise tab. Okay. What did we set? 20? Was it 21? Whatever. We'll just set steer 2 for now, and we'll figure out our nav after the fact. Okay, let's go and take the active. Parking brakes off. Checked the departure or arrival end of the runway. Line up. We'll verify that we have runway 36 on our HUD. That matches up with our compass heading. Okay. Up to 80, up to 90, off the brakes. Looking to rotate at about 140, 150, and liftoff should be about 165, 170 with this weight. Nose wheels off, 100 knot check, good. 150, rotate. Really heavy weight. We'll do a max performance takeoff, looking for about 400 knots on the departure end. Okay, there we go with the pull.